GB, can you hear me now? GB, can you hear me now? Excellent. Have you heard any good podcasts recently? All right. I'll give you a recap on the Joe Rogan Experience. Oh, yeah, I see that. I see that. I don't know what exactly is going on. Let's see here. I'm going to refresh. Let's see here. All right, let's try this again. GB, my friend, can you hear me? Okay, maybe it'll work. I mean, I'm just doing so much streaming that I get lag. I know it happens. I hear it cutting out. I hear it cutting out. All right. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm trying to think how Telegram usually is fine. Yo, dog. This should be a lot better. Can you hear me, GB? GB Pimp. GB, can you hear me? What up? What up? Okay. Go back to Discord. Go go back to Discord if you would. Can you go back to Discord? Yeah, go back to Discord if you would. There he is. Test, test, test. I see that it is not working the way that I want it to work. It's very delayed. Now, if I play this, well, I'm going to play the podcast. Let me know if it comes in clearly.
It's a non-playing character. You're more, yeah. Oh wow. Yes. You're more Mario Kart guy. Yeah. I want that. I was.
Yeah, so it's just this device that I'm using is just, I think, a little overwhelmed, perhaps. Um, you know, If I let's see if this helps it. Just one moment. What up, bitch? How you living, pimp? I'm kicking ass, taking names. How are things in your neck of the woods? You word, dog. Well, that's time well spent. Excellent. Hey, just one moment. I'll get GB in here. Hey, GB, if you would, apologies. Go to the Telegram. We got a bunch of people in there. Excellent. Hey, I got GB coming. Special guest GB. Tell all your friends. GB. Oh yeah, GB's coming. It'll be huge. There he is. Take it away, GB.
so sweet. I don't know how somebody else would ever top something like this project we have going on right now. If as just a meme current base, like there would almost be no way to just in the current order of events and the operations of this world, it would be impossible to grab a funnier, more demanding subject than each possible 10 on. For sure. People like water recreate it, but they can't capture it because it's rare. All the returns are weird. Unless it's like something like a derivative could be funny, or could maybe have funnier moments, but it wouldn't be something as, oracular, spectacular as this. Yeah, just the name of the movie. It's just like, I want to see Harry Potter Sonic 10 at the top because it's hilarious. It's just the best joke possible. Like in the crypto space. Yeah. Like, realistically, I used to think we could become like Doge sized, but now that Doge is a whole American government brand, it's like, yeah, but it's competing for the years. Like, yeah, that's ultimately what, that's almost the fundamentals of a good meme coin is work. Young up, where are you gonna get? Like, you need to, like, there used to be stories attached to it, narratives and shit. Bitcoin Obama selling $600,000 worth of shit. Wait, what happened? Oh, Bitcoin Obama, like, this is early, but he was donated, like, 600,000 of Bitcoin, actually, I think 750,000 Bitcoin. It was 5 of those. And he cheated them all. He cheated them all early. What does he do? How does he not, like, why is he not retired in, like, Poconos or something? Because he sells. Yeah, he sells early. He could have been the richest man in Nigeria even now. Like, just that minute. Fair. Well, even with selling them early in Nigerian standards, he must be pretty very wealthy, right? You think? Yeah, I don't know where it goes. We all joke that he does drugs and shit, like, we don't. Do you think he just buys Russian drugs and moves all his money to his dealer? Yeah. Yeah. It's gotta be. Oh, and sometimes he sends videos, he's definitely on drugs, or he's doing the spaces, he's like falling asleep, like some opiate type shit. It's interesting to me. I don't know. Because I love the Bitcoin Obama thing. And too, I think he said he's gonna come back, like for 300 million or something like that, or 300, 400, 500, whatever the number was. Oh, he'll come back. He always comes back. Price goes up. Ask for donations. It's so cool. I love how much engagement all these people in photos get just for being here before like James Slang died. Yeah, some kind of working soldiers forget. It's crazy. Yeah, he really is. I mean, he's double. He must be. I want to ask him this, but I feel like he must be like almost double screening sometimes, like on his phone and then on Twitter and Telegram somehow. No problem. No doubt. Like, yeah, these guys go to like all the events. It's so funny. Like, there was a guy in the chats today, like talking about walking nothing with people. Like, trying to be like, you guys don't know what you're doing. They're gonna rug it. Yeah, kind of thing. It's like, they put their names. Like, we all know their names and faces. They ain't going no like. Yeah, that's what's so cool. Dude, I made a meme coin, and everybody thought I was rugging it or going to rug it. Well, I didn't really make it. Well, I made one. Another one I got hired to get to actually work for those. You're like 1 in 1,000 coins. Now, to me, like, this one is like the number one ever. Like, he's constantly working, and it works. It's a good meta, and it's mega popular too. Yeah. It's the chosen horse. So it's my chosen horse. What is that called? Horse, you know what I'm talking about? Horse. like sneaking in like an actual project into this whole thing. Unlike some just pump fun token, as like you're saying, like so much has changed. Even since this launch, it'd be impossible to do this because like the pump fun meta is insane. People just dump in, so much traders.
This pump fun meta, it's like different than sustainable game and growth habit to your more comfortable organic websites and social medias. They're like 1,000 coins every hour. It doesn't make sense anymore. We used to have to all wait for one guy to post. You guys to post something on Twitter.
Yeah. The one thing I'm glad is it is like a resale meta in a sense, but it got rid of the resale meta, which was just terrible for pros and scams and that not people lost money
I
in pre-sales.
liked it though because the pre-sale meta on some created this chart thing where it would drop below the launch price usually. You would get all the CTOs from Twitter, which was really fun to me that we could like CTO everything practically.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I only have one slide token. That's it. It's like $30 in it.
I want to get the Magic Eden token because I think they're going to send as the NFT chosen exchange. And that's based on Solana, but that's not like a Solana token. That's its own company more. But they're at like 500, 700 million, something like that. And they'll probably go to like 10 billion in my opinion. That's like a massive trade for the long term.
Yeah, I guess you were saying.
But they have that same shitty Solana chart where it's like they launch and then they have an initial pump, and then the reaction to the pump is sending it below launch price where you can get it at today theoretically. And that's where the CTO starts. Like the second pump, which usually sends it to an all-time high.
Yeah, if there's enough people that believe in it, right? You just need the troops to rally behind it.
Yeah, since this one's Magic Eden, and I don't have any of it, but since it's Magic Eden, it probably will. Unless their whole, but then that's the next thing, their whole NFT exchange could rub. It could be like a backup that doesn't get used as it's after the founders could potentially cash out, but that's usually not what happens with crypto companies, at least because there's so few of them that are actually chosen.
Yeah, Magic Eden's definitely come to the forefront here. Just be an aggregate of all the different sites. Like Blur was okay, but it just became Blur Farmers and bots. That sucks.
The NFT bots are hilarious. I can't believe that. The automated offers and stuff that they do, I couldn't imagine trying to make money like that.
That's insanity. NFTs is just a shot in the dark. Unless there's like something behind it. But even like that, like Rat Bros or whatever, and they put some ordinals out there or whatever, but just it gets all fragmented. Things get too fragmented if people start making another version of this or that. If you're having
something like Rat Bros, there's tons of spin-offs now. Scrotos, you can't really have a spin-off. There are tons of different Rat Bro looking NFTs, which is weird, like, because I think Remilio or whatever has like popular people behind it and a cool artistic brand. Scroto Gremlins have the leading coin, and then Pudgy Penguins have that Walmart sponsorship. Besides those two, there's like almost nothing.
It's crazy. There's just like literally like nothing left except for there's the people who are always looking to make the next trade. Like during last year when Jared was popping best with the whole cycle kind of shifted from NFT speculation to shitcoining because Jared came on the gas was through the roof. All these people that were doing like 3 minutes fact, like it's like you break through the consciousness, which we've seen in different levels, but we've never like broken through. It's like
At the all-time high, he had that Paris Hilton look. So he's got some insider Hollywood Express names or whatever. And then did you see that he had the Trump account somehow? He had the Trump username. Did you remember that?
Well, yeah, there's like these weird. He's like sign up for our shit. He's tweeted those. But I don't know how he knows all these things so early. Like, it's crazy.
He's got I think he's some sort of sophisticated super genius. That's hard to spot. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, he's got lots of connects, that's for sure. He was in LA for a long time. All over the States, really. East Coast, West Coast.
Is he Canada? Isn't he from Canada?
No, he's from Orleans, from like Pennsylvania, Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah, he looks totally French Canadian. Dutch.
Yeah.
Test.
East, and then they moved to LA at some point. There's like 20s or whatever. And he was a keyboardist for a band. I don't know which band, but we found like the pictures of him in the band back in the day. This was like his name, Teach to Fire. And yeah.
What the fuck does he have some second guy that's able to take that down off the search engines though or something? Like what is who really does he know? What's his top friend or scholar that he's really connected with?
What do you mean?
Like to become this big super overall musician face of the name of the brand of his own coin and everything. Do you think he has like some super powerful friend that could like remove his face from search engines and stuff? You know, something like that.
You can do that yourself. Actually, I just saw a video that they had of your personal info from Google. It's pretty easy. I kind of click, you search your name and then click the results, and you can ask them to take it down because this gives up personal info. But all his info is relatively out there. You know, like if you want to know
it does go a level deeper with like the whole like can you get removed from a Forbes article or something? Like if do you know somebody that will tell you Forbes is about to post you and you can get it taken down? I don't know.
I'll make love to you like you want me to, and I'll hold you tight, baby, all through the night. I'll make love to you when you want me to, and I will not let go. You tell me to. Girl, relax. Let's go slow.
as far as I know,
I ain't got
he was just a dude
nowhere to go.
in the old town
Just go
he was a
concentrate on you. Girl, are you ready? It's gonna be a long night. I'm gonna take my clothes off to lively plans to be with you. Girl, whatever you ask me, you know I will do. Like you want me to, and I'll hold you tight, baby, all through the night. I'll make love to you when you want me to, and I will not let go what you tell me to. Tonight is your night, and I will do it right. Just make a wish on your life, and anything that you ask, I'm gonna give you the love of your life, your life, your life. I'll make love to you like you want me to. And I'll hold you tight, baby, all through the night. I'll make love to you when you want me to. And I will not let go till you tell me to. I'll make love to you like you want me to. And I'll hold you tight, baby, all through the night. I'll make love to you when you want me to. And I will not let go till you tell me to.
Okay, so I got to know all these. I know talking about things down with some operators, and I got to know two of them who
The next person make
and so from that point on, he was surrounded by them. And one of them, this guy Mikey, was his interview.
Yeah, a little bit. I was just talking to Bitcoin Obama today. We're probably gonna do the point, me and him, on Terry Shea, on chicken. That actually comes out. Oh, yeah.
And so, we got to know each other. And is it the Turkish kind or is it but he was a medic during the war, and he was a medic, and so he was kind of identified as somebody and so I make a determination, medical determination. The guy still alive? I'm going to put him in reverse and try him over again a couple of times. I see that all the time. All the time. We're talking, I think they have a photo of the guy who watched that insurance CEO. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they have a photo of his face back.
Oh, they do.
Well, I would think with the amount of data that they pick it up later. I think, every camera everywhere, and that's part of the problem. I don't think this guy was a professional. I think this guy, if I had to guess, some guy got fucked up. Apparently that company is really bad on denying claims. 34% denial rate in one of those. Yeah. So, this guy, I don't think anybody's going to, keep crying. That's about it. Yeah, it's a dirty business. Business of insurance is fucking gross. It's gross, and especially healthcare insurance. Well, actually, all insurance. I live in California, and all of a sudden, because I live adjacent to any kind of open space, nobody will insure my house because
fires. Right. So certainly I have a house that's in terrible, and it's not just me, it's everything. So, yeah, I was very first in a house in California. It turned out it was $125,000 a year just to get fire. It's fucking nuts. Yeah, but you know, I was evacuated from that. I used to live in California, and it was fucking. It was rough. I was evacuated from that. I was afraid to say it. I've been living in the fire that never happened. Yeah, it is rough. Yeah. The benefit of your story is at least in a helicopter accessible. They're just going to dump all that fire retardant. I really am kind of at the top of the hill on the top of the rock. The whole place is turned into an inferno. I'm so fucked. And I think that place is probably been there a while. It's probably withstood all sorts of calamities. Yeah, when I was going to Fear Factor, I talked to this guy who was a fire guy for the fire department. He said, it's just going to be a matter of time. There's going to be one day where a fire hits LA, and the wind is the right way, and we're not going to be able to stop it. It's just going to go right through the ocean. Because it's just a matter of time. We all know it. So I was like, what? Fuck, I go, the whole city is full city. Because when those big fires get going, there's not a chance. And look what happened in Malibu a few years back. Like those are, I always thought Malibu was rich people. Well, that was the first, yeah. That was like about 92. That actually happened. Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a big Malibu fire happened while we were shooting Pulp Fiction. We actually set up a TV on the set because Bruce Willis was going to maybe lose his house. And so he was like, actually, so we had to look TV over so we could, like, in between takes, we could watch what's going on with the fire. And then, like, and we thought these were close. But no, Bruce Willis and his family on top of the house with the water hose. Like, no, it's not, it's right here. So the thing is, fires were normal. Like, it used to be when I was young, grew up in California, and so when I was young, fires were burning through Malibu constantly. But now they put all those houses in there where there never were houses. Because the fire is a natural process. It's kind of peace around, and it's normal. But when you put all that kindling in there, certainly you end up with these super fire. Yeah. It's because of these insane fires that we get. This episode is brought to you by the Farmer's Dog. Dogs are amazing. They're loyal, they're lovable, or just having Marshall around can make my day 10 times better. I'm sure you love your dog just as much, and you want to do your best to help them live longer, healthier, happier lives. And a healthy life for your dog starts with healthy food, just like it does for us. There's a reason having a balanced diet is so important. So how do you know if your dog's food is as healthy and as safe as it can be? Well, Farmer's Dog gives you that peace of mind by making fresh, real food developed by board-certified nutritionists to provide all the nutrients your dog needs. And their food is human grade, which means it's made to the same quality and safety standards as human food. Very few pet foods are made to this strict standard. And let's be clear, human grade food doesn't mean the food is fancy. It just means it's safe and healthy. It's simple, real food from people who care about what goes into your dog's body. The Farmer's Dog makes it easy to help your dog live a long, healthy life by sending you fresh food that's pre-portioned just for your dog's needs. Because every dog is different. And I'm not just talking about breeds, from their size to their personality to their health. Every dog is unique. Plus, precise portions can help keep your dog at an ideal weight, which is one of the proven predictors of a long life. Look, no one, dog or human, should be eating highly processed foods for every meal. It doesn't matter how old your dog is. It's always a great time to start investing in their health and happiness. So, try the Farmer's Dog today. You can get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Tap the banner or visit this episode's page to learn more. Offer applicable for new customers only. Yeah, but it's a cool place to live. I'm not going to stop people from developing in Malibu. It's just too nice. Just take the chances, roll your dice. Yeah. And roll your dice. Take the chances and you roll your dice no matter where you live. Yeah, it's just fucked up when it happens. Like,
Oh my God, yeah.
I drove home once. We were filming Fear Factory. We had to stop the set early because the fire was so bad. This was like 2003 or something like that. And driving home took me 55 minutes on the 5 to get home. The entire time, the right side of the highway was on fire. For 55 minutes. Everything, like Lord of the Rings stuff.
The 3 different times you got evacuated from your home.
Yeah.
And so what is like? Okay, so you decide what you're gonna take with you. Kind of
Yeah,
thing?
the last time was the last time. It was like, the last big fire in LA. And I came home from the comedy store at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And my wife and I are looking out the window and the fire is like maybe 500 or 600 yards away. And it's coming over the hill. And we were looking at each other and said, let's just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, right on.
Let's just get out of here now. Just, so we grabbed the kids, got a laptop, took some clothes. I didn't even remember it. They said, we just buy stuff. Who cares if you have you know, if you have your life. Yeah, I'm always I don't want to say stupid guy, but I'm the guy who for some reason always decides I'm going to stay. I'm going to end. I'm working at a fire department. There's a fire hydrant across from my driveway. Yeah, that's right. Like my family went away, and I was like, well, we're going to close it up so we can't get back in. I'm just going to hang out here until like I know that it's. I just went to this fire, like pressing the ridge, and just kind of watching it. Ran down to the fire department to see, hey guys, it's coming. I can see it from my house. And you know, they're like hanging out and eating sandwiches and like not even worried about it. They kind of looked over that. By the way, my spec ops friend, he's like, fuck those firemen, man. Fuck them. They get so much like credit for like nothing. They barely do anything. They're on this incredible pension plans. Like, he like hates firemen. That's great. It is a great job, but you can get mad at someone for having a great job. There's a buddy of mine that I used to play for years. We'll just actually pump it into another country and kill someone. Well, he's got a real tough job. He's not getting enough credit. That's what it is. That's really what you say. Yeah. That's the reality of our world today. Those people don't get enough credit. But the firemen, you know, it is a great job. Pensions and everybody thinks they're heroes. They're not heroes. Well, it's funny because they're just doing their job. The firemen are very comfortable with fire. These people are very comfortable with people dying. They're dying because of them. You know, they just get real. They get blase about murder. It's not murder if it's essentially fire. I had an interesting thing. Like, when you live in the holidays, there's a criminal case, pretty decent property. You get there's little business. You get a reason. You know, you don't have to wait 2 hours during your election. You go to the local elementary school. You're in and out in 5 minutes. Right, when it comes to the election day. But also, it's one of those stupid things that you do. Or was an idiot where you turn on the burner and you like leave the room for a while. All right, and then you come back and all of a sudden your kitchen is flaming. And so, does that happen to you? That happened to me once. And so the alarm goes off and I hit the button with the fire department. And then I put it out. I put it out by putting it out. And then maybe 5 minutes later, it could have been 5 minutes later, the fire truck is at my door. So I didn't have time to say, hey, it's okay. It's okay. And so there's an entire fire truck at my door, and I left them in the guys. I'm really sorry. I was too big. You know, I left the room and it was hot on the stove and whatever. Anyway, and so I'm really sorry. I'm really, really sorry. Having said that, it's nice to see that you guys are going to just quit. Yeah, it's true. They were like, oh, I mean, really? And they were like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. Your party checked you for something. Are you sure you don't want us to come in and just make sure? The problem is sometimes you have to chop the walls to make sure that there's fire embers inside. Yeah, it's a hard fucking job. It's a hard job, though. The thing is, most of the time they're just chilling. You know, they get to cook, they eat, they work out. I take ice cream down to our guys. Like I'll go out and buy a bunch of ice cream or some pizzas and take it down just on random days.
Well, actually, well, it was, I don't see what the matter It was actually funny because it was like one of the things that was exciting was like the local fire department when we worked with video archives, the video store, the local fire department was a customer. And so they rent different movies. So like, it was almost out of 5 movies that they would rent 4.
No, they're careers. You guys work together? Yeah. No shit. That's how you guys met? Yeah. Wow. Video archives. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, that's from like 84. Yeah. 84 for about 5 years.
Yeah. You've been doing it before.
Well, I started officially in 84.
Because you were a customer before. Yeah. I predated one of the employees. Look at you guys. Yeah, actually, yeah. That's crazy.
Very unfortunate shirt on my part.
There was a lot of unfortunate shirts in the 80s. Everybody was confused. They cut the drugs off in the 70s. No one knew what to do for 10 years. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you would never thought back then that industry would completely vanish. You thought Blockbuster Video is going to be around forever.
Well, yeah, one of the things that
I didn't think film was going to vanish either.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't think the theater experience was going to go away either.
But one of the things, so there was the death knell to video stores that no one ever liked. When they were talking mom and pop, when they're talking old people, they're like, hey, you know, you've retired from your business, you've got a nice little nest egg. If you want to invest in a nice little business, you can get to work with your neighborhood and be in a nice little store with your family. In video stores, that's a good thing. People will help you, help you choose a title. So there's a lot of people that like invested in this stuff, and it seemed like a good idea. The reason that it seemed like a profitable idea was the idea of like, I sold you this video and you pay for the video. But the minute you rent it past the point that where you pay for the video cassette yourself, then everything else is cheap. All that other money that you make from here on in is just all profit once you pay for the actual cassette. Now, of course, they'll have cassettes that don't rent as well, but that's the way it works out. It should work out great. Well, again, it sounds like a pretty good business model. Well, if I spend this money and then 5 years from now, everything is where it all fell apart is the idea that you always have to get new shit. Because like life is not a bookstore. Well, bookstore you need to get new stuff too, but it's not a library. Life doesn't stand still. Every month there's new titles coming out, and you have to be competitive, and you have to get the new title. And so even if that were the issue, that wouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you're a mom and pop store, you only have so much room.
Yeah.
So
it's a space. It's literally a space.
Within 3 to 4 years, you're bursting out of steam. You're just bursting out. You've got no more room. And so now all of a sudden, other than having your face facing out, now everything is, sideways, spine facing, and you've got to really, and it just never stops. It never stops. The next month you got to get this. Next month you got to get that. Next month you got to get that.
You need a Costco size building.
Yeah. Well. Again, if you have 4 different video stores, you have to change and move things around, and it's easier. But when you're a mom and pop, that's just it. Mom and pop store, and you have a bike store. You don't have to keep getting new bikes every month. You have a pottery store. You have to keep getting new, regardless of your inventory. Yeah,
constantly have to grow your inventory.
Every 6 months you get something cool. You don't need to get it every month. And you're defined by you having a new system.
And then there was another part when when companies that were massively funded, like Blockbuster, came onto the scene, they would go in and they would kind of do this sort of gray market purchasing where they'd buy 50 diehards. And a mom and pop store can't afford to buy one or two diehards to satisfy your clientele.
Yeah, but then you spend the money like a big, like, one of our big titles in the early days of the video was Top Gun. So you get like, you'll get even the mom and pop store, you'll get 12 or 15.
Because everyone wants to see it, and at some point it's going to be out. It's going to be checked out. So you've got to satisfy your.
You'll rent all 15 of those for the next 2 weeks. It's going to be, it's going to be good. But then now you have to sell them off. For $10 a piece. If a desire has died down.
It largely fell on us because we were a smaller store and we had a Blockbuster just a block away, basically.
Not even a block. We're talking the same company.
Basically, it was
not a block away. It was in the
on the block.
In the shopping center that we were in. And what you're missing the most interesting thing. It's not about the bulk. That's what it is. But that's every mom and pop store has to deal with that. Just get into the sure thing. Yes. What
it changes your strategy.
But what Blockbuster did, and they were famous for this. They were famous particularly they were strategic. Is like, okay, we're gonna go into this town. Okay, we're going into Manhattan Beach. What's the biggest video store? What's the most popular local video store in Manhattan Beach? Well, that would be Video Archives. They're right across the street from the warehouse. All right, which is one of the big, before Blockbuster. And they still managed to survive across the street from warehouse. And then what's Blockbuster do? They buy the Shakey's Pizza that is in our shopping center. Our shopping center. And they moved into Shakey's Pizza. Because it's like, what? Warehouse and the video archives guys. Well, this is obviously the place to be, so they just bought out the Shakey's Pizza and opened them, and they still took the cents.
Wow. I'm sure they had the attitude of just rushing us out.
Oh, of course, of course that's how.
And so, consequently, because you can get 3 or 12 Top Guns, whatever it is, it's not as many as Blockbuster is getting. You end up having to focus on like, how am I going to convince my clientele to watch something other than Top Gun this weekend? And so. Landed on us to basically say, oh, you can't get Top Gun. Well, how about this movie?
Well, you haven't seen it. But it's the difference between being a cool coffee place and being Starbucks,
right.
or a franchise bar and a cool little Joe's bar. All right, the bartender knows you.
Right.
So it's like, look, if you just absolutely positively need Top Gun that weekend, then go across the street to the warehouse. All right, we have what we have, but we had customers that came in every fucking day, and part of their day or every other day, when their transfer runs were due, and they were people of the neighborhood, and they came in, and not only did they rent stuff, they dropped stuff off, and then they rented new stuff out, but they came in to talk to us for 20 minutes or 45 minutes, every other day.
And there's no algorithm to tell them what to do. We're the algorithm. You have to know, this guy, they're on a date night, so they're going to want this kind of rom-com type movie, or this guy, he really likes, Vietnamese hooker porn tapes. I got to make sure to find something like that for him. And those kids, they're going to want, some skate stuff, so I've got to learn all about the Bones Brigade videos and stuff like that. And so, you just kind of figured out, how can I upsell stuff that they haven't heard of? Because invariably, anybody who comes in...
Well, you're making it sound a little bit more cynical than it was. You are making it sound more cynical.
More like the challenge.
You guys are like a married couple.
Yeah, totally we're like a married couple.
It wasn't that
without the benefit.
Tell them the whole story, honey. We're just telling the whole story.
We were just hanging out, and they're coming and hanging out too.
Yeah, and we would pop a movie on, and pop the movie on and be watching scenes from it and talking about the scenes. Then a customer would come in, or many customers would come in, and we'd just become part of the conversation. And we would have a chat room in the.
There was about 15 customers that I talked to 5 hours a week, every week for 5 years.
Yeah.
Because they come in and I'm like, let's spend at least 40 minutes every other day. And I expected to see them. And I watched what I watched on TV. I saw what I saw at the movies, and then they saw what they saw in the movies. They watched what they watched on TV. We all talked about it. They talked about the videos, and what else we're going to get, and da-da-da-da-da.
And if you like that, you're going to like this.
About our lives and everything,
So at what point in time, while this is all going on, do you guys decide, we need to make our own fucking movies?
Well, it was always the case.
Well, we were always thinking, well, Roger and Roger had another friend that he was a guy that connected me and Roger together. Was a guy named Scott who took his own life at a certain point.
His father owned another video store that I worked at as well. And Quentin used to come into it.
But the thing is, though, that while I was just thinking about making movies, Roger and Scott were like making movies on Super 8.
Yeah.
And they were making little horror films and little zombie movies on Super 8. And they're like
supernatural thrillers.
And they're showing war films and zombie movies.
It's kind of a zombie movie. More of an afterlife.
Okay, maybe. But you're making like legit horror films. I'm just thinking about this stuff, and these guys are like Sam Raimi, like Sam Raimi. They're making their shit in their backyard, and they're working on it for like 3 months and stuff.
Yeah, and like I was friends with all the punk guys because it's like LA punk, and so they were always in my movies. Yeah, all the punks were in my movies because they were media literate. They loved movies, and so they were easy to pull in and to be in the film. So they were always playing like the gang of punks who beat somebody up or something.
So it must have been cool working at a video store though, because it's essentially like it's like an education.
Well, when the time came where we actually wanted to be making movies, where we were talking about making movies, because I can remember when, I think it was around the time of Sex, Lies, and Videotape, or maybe She's Gotta Have It.
No, definitely Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
But I remember you coming to me and saying, the moment is happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. Like, a small movie, it is possible to get made, like it's happening for us, for guys our age.
Yeah, I mean, the one, the Sex, Lies, and Videotape was sort of like the Seattle band that broke. All right, but I was already looking at Blood Simple. Was my in.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Was my in. All right, where that was okay. It's an artistic movie. It's arty. It's funny. It could play the art house. It could play the art house circuit, but there's a genre base to it.
Yeah.
There's a genre base. It's like it's a thriller. It's a film noir-y kind of thriller done in a certain kind of way, but it's a genre base. Yeah, I go. That's the way you do an art film. You do it. You make it a genre base.
If you keep one foot in,
because it's entertaining.
Yeah. If you keep one foot in exploitation in some way in genre. If you keep your foundation in genre, then you can do whatever you want. Like, my favorite filmmaker is Stanley Kubrick. I love Kubrick movies. Okay, one can pretty much look at all of his films and say each and every one is a genre film. He's got a science fiction movie, he's got a horror movie. Even Barry Lyndon as a costume drama at the time.
It's a costume genre. It's the genre.
That was a solid, bankable genre.
The book is definitely a pulpy genre.
Well, yeah, the book was serialized, wasn't it? It was like Thackeray wrote them in like an episode. It was like a soap opera.
But that was a very popular book at that time.
Yeah, and so it was all. If you can, and I knew this making my first film. I know Quentin, you were talking about it. This was the conversation we were actively having of. We have to make sure that we make a movie people want to see, like a genre film. And I was calling them exploitation movies at the time. I want to keep one foot in exploitation, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I kind of also want to make I want to elevate it as much as possible. And so when the time came for me to make my first film, Killing Zoe, it was like I knew it was going to be a bank robbery because I wrote it around a location. We found this while they were scouting for Reservoir Dogs. Lawrence Bender, or maybe you also scouted that location. We found this bank location, and Lawrence called me up and he's like, "Hey, I'm calling all the writers I know. I found this bank location, and if you have a script that takes place in a bank, we can kick together $200,000 and make a movie there. It's like this complete, solid, amazing location." And I said, "Oh my God, Lawrence, this is your lucky day. I happen to have a script that takes place in a bank." And it's quickly written. based on the location. And as I was writing it, I was thinking, okay, I know that it's going to be a bank robbery. It's a bank. And so I know it's going to be a bank robbery, and that's my solid bankable genre that I'm going to stick with. But I knew I wanted to do something more with it, and I had just traveled through Europe, and I had been telling Quentin the stories of traveling through Europe. He said, "Oh, you should do a movie called Roger Takes a Trip." And
I still think it should be.
I think it's a different movie. I don't think it's a.
No, you kind of think Roger Takes a Trip. Just added bank robbers in it. Roger Takes a Trip.
I had been in Paris. I bumped into a guy that I knew from Los Angeles who was a French guy, and he was like, "Oh, show me the real Paris." And I went out with me and his friends, Henri, Jean, Claude, all the characters from the movie. I went out with him and his friends, and we, he drove me through Paris. And the next thing I know, he's doing heroin. And it started
with you?
No, not with me.
I know we do heroin.
Yeah, it was like, no, we do heroin. Hold my arm. I did hold his arm, and like I had never, I had never seen anything like that.
Like he tied his arm off. It's like, hold my arm.
Hold my arm.
He was the tying arm.
Yeah,
Roger was the tying
Roger,
arm.
hold my arm while I shoot up.
Jeez.
So,
but he doesn't quite know that this is all going to happen. That everything else has been a preamble to this.
Yeah, suddenly that happens, and then
he just needed a heroin partner.
Yeah, and his friends are like, "Oh, doing it in the nose doesn't even affect me anymore." Things like that. And I'm like writing these lines down, like, this is great shit. And so I get back and I tell Quentin like about this whole story about these guys and going, driving around the Champs-Elysees. Oh, it's just where the fags show themselves. Oh, now we go into the nightclub down below, and you do more heroin. And I'm like, what about the cops? Aren't the police going to say anything? It's safer here than you're like, you can do heroin anywhere in Paris. And it was like, I work at Le Mans. Like, all of it was like, basically everything in that movie was stuff that I'd actually seen. And so when the time came to make it as a bank robbery film, I just, I'm like, well, it's a bank robbery movie, but it's going to be about these guys. And it just became a movie about the guy going someplace and everything that he thought he knew was wrong. Like, you think, you haven't seen your friend in a while, you go see him. Okay, it's all about that kind of friendship and misconception. He's downstairs to the bank. Johnny Grunwald, the bad guy, is upstairs. The chaos is going on upstairs. He has no idea what's going on upstairs. And so this kind of just became what the movie was about. And so I just quickly wrote the script, and then we ended up not even using that location to shoot the movie. It came together later, shoot downtown LA instead. But it was
the seed was planted.
The seed was planted. So the idea was, okay, I'm going to make a French film out of it because I'm like in LA. I'm making a film. What can I do that would be different? Like that would make this more than just a bank robbery movie. And because of the experience I had just had, I was like, I'm going to make a French film. Okay, I had no business making a French movie. I didn't even really speak French. I just thought it would be kind of cool. I like, cool French girl and like greasy, dirty French guys, French criminals. And I always loved, Alain Delon and Le Samurai, the way he wears a suit and the way he carries a gun and the way he walks around. I just like, just adored all of that. And so it's like, well, let's put all of that kind of space that's in my brain into the movie. And then movies tend to take on a life of their own. They tend to be like children. It starts off as a concept, as a conception, as an infancy, and then you're raising that child to become the movie. And along the way, you're really just kind of protecting it and trying to allow it to grow into what it's going to grow into without forcing it to become something that it's not. And it's a little bit of a balance. You have to be a good parent, which means you have to give it a little bit of freedom to grow into something you don't know what it's going to be. But at the same time, you have to be willing to, be strong with it as well.
So that's a very underappreciated movie. Right? It's a fucking great
I think I'm really good at making underappreciated movies. I think I've built a career with underappreciated movies.
Those are the classics that you would look for in a video store.
Yeah, absolutely.
You would look for the movies that were really good that no one knew about.
Dog Day Afternoon's not in, but we can get you killing some.
My favorite moment in the movie, well, I like it when the guy gets burned alive. All right, the hamburger scene.
But that was yeah.
But I remember they were trying to talk you to cut out of it. No, you can't cut that out. I'm taking my name off.
Yeah. No, Quentin did that. Actually, Quentin was a great gorilla to have on my side at that time.
But
Why would they tell you to cut that out?
well, they're like,
Everyone is afraid. Everyone's afraid. Everyone operates out of fear.
I'm taking my name off.
The only people that don't operate out of fear, I think, is the director and the actors. Those are the ones who, if everything's working right, you're furious.
It's always executives.
But it's the scene. My favorite scene is the scene with Hugh Anglon when he walks into the club.
Oh yeah.
And he's just like, wait a minute. He's like remembering what he heard, and he realizes.
Okay, so that's a good example of because the movie was shot for.
Explain the scene better.
The scene was shot.
Explain the scene better.
I will. The movie was shot for very little money. We had no money to make it, so I had to shoot the entire upstairs first and then the downstairs because it's like doing a company move. But I knew that when writing, and this was sort of a kind of a rule that we had was. One, make a genre movie. Two,
explain the scene.
I'm going to.
I said explain the scene. Don't tell me what you felt about at that moment.
The scene actually exit. The scene was a replacement for another scene that was in the movie that was too expensive to shoot. That's the short.
What does that have to do with what I like?
What I replaced it with was, and I had to fight for it, was a single shot. Because originally he goes downstairs and he sees a bunch of guys coming in through the sewer. So he starts machine gunning people in the sewer. Because there was like a little sewer manhole at the bottom of the bank. I was like, let's use that. And so I had this whole thing. And the Bond company showed up and you're behind schedule and you've got to you got to cut pages. And I couldn't cut anything. And I'm shooting upstairs, downstairs stuff. And so it's like I had to have something because he leaves the scene and then comes back angry. And so I knew I needed to have something. And originally I had this whole scene with the cops are coming in and he reacts to that. And so I said, well, okay, I just need one shot because it's all I could have time to do because it's a Bond company. And so I set up, which were actually really cool. They were actually film financiers. I just set up a single camera. I asked for a kind of a Kubrickian lens, so a nice wide, like maybe a 14 millimeter lens. And I just had John Hughes walk up into a close-up and I just had him I said, just walk into a close-up and start looking around and just start seeing things coming out of the walls. And is that the shot you're talking about? He does like a little magic trick beforehand. That's not the one you're talking about? No, that's the great shot. That's a great shot.
No, the scene I'm talking about but that's why I wanted you to explain it because I hadn't seen it in a long time. But it was...
is that the shot?
Well, that's the shot.
That's the shot I'm talking about. Look, he's looking into the walls. He's looking around.
But I thought the whole idea about it is the idea that
I added those lines of dialogue in.
No, but I thought the whole idea is he puts it all together. He realizes there's something going on that the cops are doing this, or Eric Stoltz is dirty with him. All that, and it all hits him. He's ready to do something else, and he walks into a close-up, and it all hits him. But now we, the audience, know what's going on.
Yep.
And then he's just like.
Well, it just shows that sometimes if you can't do what you want to do, what you come up with is better. And this was an example of it rained that day, and I had to use the rain. That's sort of the example.
The frustrating part for me about what you is like, I don't care how the sausage was made. I like the sausage. I wanted you to talk about the sausage, not the factory.
You don't want to know what's in that sausage.
You
have no interest in that.
About the Italian sweetness.
Well, it was very sweet, but it started off sour. It started off sour because I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And so I just came up with something that was, well, he puts it together in his head. I
still think that sequence is exhilarating because it all boils down to an actor's face.
Well, I had Tom Savini on the set because, and I couldn't afford Tom Savini, but I found his number, and before I shot, I called him up in Pittsburgh. So Tom Savini's a makeup effects artist who did Dawn of the Dead.
He did all the effects for Dawn of the Dead.
And not to mention all the great Friday the 13th, all the slasher movies.
He's the superstar of practical makeup effects of horror films of that era.
He was in Vietnam and saw some shit. And every time I'm talking to him about stuff, like he's like, "Oh yeah, well, no, if you're bleeding from back here, there's only 2 small veins, because when your head gets knocked off." Like he's seen all this stuff, and so this is his way of processing. But Tom came in, and I couldn't afford him. I called him up on the phone. I was like, "Hey, do you think I'm a young filmmaker? I'm your biggest fan. I like the makeup effects, blah blah blah." Okay, he flew himself out. We had no money to pay him. I think we paid him like some tiny amount. He flew himself to LA, put himself up, worked on the film, and he made that burn makeup on that burned guard in the vault out of Vaseline paint and tissue paper. And I watched him. It was an unbelievable thing how he made blisters and burn effects. It was like watching one of the great artists work. Well, Tom is incredible. He's incredible.
Where you were asking earlier on about, you're working at a video store, did you ever think, when did you start thinking about making your own stuff? Well, I was thinking about making my own stuff for like a long, long, long time, but these guys were actually doing it. But there is a trick. Well, I thought about it like for a long, long time, and always figured I would do that eventually. I did fall asleep for a few years. It was because working at that store, I just got caught up in the little life there, and it's interesting because you spent your 20s going to comedy clubs and building a career. So I'm starting my 20s there, and well, it's one of those things where it's like, well, this isn't my dream. This isn't what I wanted to do, working at a video store for years. I wanted to actually make movies. It's not my dream, what I'm doing. But it's dream adjacent. It's close to my dream. It's close to my dream. I get to watch movies all fucking day. I get to talk about movies all fucking day. I don't have to work at a pizza parlor. I don't have to. I'm not delivering pizzas. I'm not busting ass as a bartender. I'm not busting ass doing menial jobs. I mean, this is the kind of job that I do if I'd go to the store if I wasn't paid to go to the store. Yeah, so it's like, but for a couple of years, it did put me to sleep. It did kind of put me to sleep. It put my ambitions to sleep for a little bit because I was happy enough.
Yeah.
I was happy enough. And just one of these days, Right,
but you didn't have the fire.
I didn't have the fire. And when I got the fire, when I eventually got the fire back again, and it was a life-changing thing. It was, we had a buddy of ours named Steve.
Yeah.
And he was one we had different living arrangements, and at one point in time, me and Steve were living in the same house. Towards the back of the store. The dude house. Yeah. Because we were able to hang out. And, but now Steve was older than the rest of us. So it's like, he was about almost 5 years older than us, but he didn't seem like it. He was a young guy.
Yeah, 5 years younger mentally. Or emotionally.
Yeah. And, but, so he hits 30, and he starts to change. He starts changing, drastically. He's one of the funniest guys I ever knew, and he's just really, really funny stoner dude, really cool. And all of a sudden, he's, angry about it. Now he's not quite as funny, and now he's got this issue. And so we're roommates. And there's this one night that he's kind of he's kind of disgusted with his life. And he starts ranting. And he's describing a situation that was very common if you were a kid growing up without a degree or anything in the 80s, especially in California, where it's you can't get any really good jobs, but you can work at Licorice Pizza, and if you're an okay employee, you can work at Licorice Pizza for a couple of years, and maybe you could even become assistant manager or a manager. Maybe they send you to another store, and maybe you work there for 3 years, and that's really great. But then, all of a sudden, the district manager doesn't like you. You run afoul of somebody higher up in corporate, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're fired and you're on the street.
Again, it's management.
Yeah. Okay. And so now you just spent 3 years at Licorice Pizza. Now you could get a job at TRW or some places like a real job. Or, well, those are kind of hard to get. You can work at Warehouse Records and Tapes tomorrow because you just had 3 years at Licorice Pizza. Same thing with Wild West Clothier, same thing with Miller's Outpost, same thing with any of these kind of stores. Next thing you know, you're 28, and the only jobs you've ever had are minimum wage jobs behind a counter that were designed for kids to pay for their gas.
Right.
And you like spent your entire 20s doing that.
And then you start getting bitter.
And you start getting bitter. But he was not just bitter about the job. I knew he's telling me the truth. I'm learning something here. Because he goes, Quentin, you think that we're this really great team, we're this really great crew. Well, we are. That time in your 20s, we're like your group of friends or your family. And I'm like, well, we are. Quentin, at 20, I worked at South Bay Cinemas, and I hung out with a bunch of guys just like you, and some girls there too. There was a bunch of guys just like you. And then I stopped working at South Bay Cinemas. Then I worked at Miller's Outpost. I hung out with a bunch of guys just like you. We did everything just like we do. We went to movies together. We went out and we dated amongst the girls there. Everything. Yeah. Then I went to Alicia Pizza for 4 years with a bunch of guys just like you. I wasted my life hanging out with a bunch of guys just like you, and they all go away at a certain point. And I realized this guy's kind of telling the truth. He's showing me a truth about him. This is coming from somewhere. And then all of a sudden, he still hung around us. He still liked us. But then he started making it a point to touch base with some of his high school friends that were still around. So he's not just hanging out with guys 4 years younger or 5 years younger than him. Anyway, I'm turning 25 around. So I'm having my own little, okay, well, what have I done with my life so far? So far, fucking nothing. So I'm having my own little anxiety hitting 25, but I've seen what it's like 5 years from now when you turn 30.
The window to the future.
When you're 30 and you're in this situation. And there was like one night that I had what I used to call, I would do it every once in a while. I haven't done it in a long time. I would have a Quentin test where I'd stay up all night long, and rather than give myself excuses, I would look at everything that I'm fucking up in my life, or everything I'm not doing, whatever, and just not give myself any fucking excuses out. Just like nail it. And I would spend like all night laying out everything I'm doing that's wrong, and then I would spend the last 2 hours figuring out how I can change it. And as opposed to just doing it and then going to get some sleep and then you forget about it and fall back into your routine, I decided to change my life. I was like, look, the problem is that I'm living in the South Bay, and even though I drive to Los Angeles, I got to not worry about this job anymore. I got to just move to Hollywood. I got to get involved there. I got to meet other people that are in the business. And if I have to work manpower jobs, where you just work like 4 days at this place and 4 days at that place, well, then that's fine. And by the way, I shouldn't be making money until I'm making money doing what I want to do. And I hope that was ever a danger. All right, but then the next thing I knew, I moved out of the South Bay, and then I couldn't move into Hollywood. I couldn't afford Hollywood, but I could afford Koreatown. That was close enough, and literally the minute I kind of moved out there, I met a guy who wrote low-budget horror movies, and then through him, I met other guys that wrote low-budget horror movies, and this guy who directs a few low-budget horror, and this guy who produces a couple. And you meet one person, and that introduces you to 3 other people. Now, all of a sudden, I actually knew people who were actually making movies. And the other thing about it was like, also, well, look, these guys can do what I can do. Because they weren't too special.
Right. Yeah. That's the weird realization that you end up having.
Yeah. And then literally, it wasn't like everything changed, but like within a year and a half from moving out of the South Bay, moving into the Hollywood area, within a year and a half, I was finally able to make a living as a writer. Getting like $7,000 for this rewrite on the script over here, $4,000 for this polish over here, another $10,000 for this rewrite over here. Oh, shit. I mean, I made $10,000 a year through all my 20s before that point. So like, if I could make $15,000 from writing, oh my God, that was the greatest thing in the world.
Wow. But it just takes being around people that are actually doing it, so you realize it's possible.
Well, it's the realizing it's possible, but it's also a situation where it's like, as opposed to talking to your buddies about comedy in Minnesota, your buddies who like comedy. No, you're at the comedy store and you're dealing with comedians every fucking night, and you're in the place where the shit happens, and you're hearing how the laughs work, but also like. You know what's going on. Oh, Caroline's Comedy Hour is doing a tryout for this. And, Chuckles is doing this thing or that thing. Oh, and there's a sitcom going on. There's the funny neighbor guy.
Yeah. At any moment,
you're plugged in.
Yeah. At any moment, there's a circle of people rising in any industry. Yes. And it's just a matter of finding those people. And those people will all gravitate towards the same things. Yeah.
Yeah, they have the thing where it's sort of like, hey, Betty, we have a spot for you that could be really, I can't do it. But my friend Joe could do it. How about we give Joe a chance?
Yeah.
Okay, will you back Joe up? Yeah, I'll back Joe up. Okay, yeah, let's call your friend Joe. Can he be down here at 9? Yeah, you can be down here at 9. Well, that's what you get a fucking get.
This is exactly what we tried to do when we built the mothership again.
Yeah.
What we done. Yeah. We decided when we left LA, like we need a place where comics have a hub. And when we were all in Austin, we all just moved to Austin for the pandemic. Yeah. And
Joe Rogan podcast. Chicken Oot. Chicken Oot.
Good job, Rogan. Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by night, all day.
So you were saying that someone was telling you how to kill someone with coffee? Okay, so I got to know all these. You were talking about his name's John McPhee, some operators, and I got to know through a billionaire friend who loaned his plane to Clinton to fly those people out of, I think, North Korea. And so from that point on, he was surrounded by these guys. And one of them, this guy, Mikey, which isn't his real name, I think he's actually named, they name them all after the archangels. So he's like Michael, this guy Gabriel. And like, they take on these. There's nothing creepier than an assassin with a biblical name.
Archangel.
Yeah. And well, and so we got to know each other because of our mutual friend. And I think what happened was he and a couple of the other guys, they were placed on me as like for surveillance purposes. Find out what this Avery guy's about, maybe, or just keep an eye on him or whatever. And they told me right up front, like, be nice to your surveillance, like don't try to lose us or anything like that. Because I heard stories about how they're surveilling somebody in wherever, Bolivia, and suddenly some gang attacks their surveillance, and they step in, kick the shit out of the gang. And so I got to know these guys, and naturally, I'm a writer and filmmaker, and so I, of course, want to talk to them about stuff. And they immediately start volunteering. Oh, yeah, we learned all these different ways. We might be getting out later, blah, blah, blah. Learn how to kill people without, and I was just making a list now of the 10 ways to kill someone without leaving a trace. I was like, oh. Just like when I told Quentin about this, he said, what are those? I'd like to hear those. Everybody wants to hear those. And so one of the ones that I think is the best one is you inject someone with caffeine, like just inject coffee into their bloodstream, gives them a heart attack, and it's untraceable. Later on, they do an autopsy and it's discovered caffeine. in your system.
That's it.
That's it.
It's just right into the blood. Coffee, it can kill you.
Sometimes the simple way is
Like
the best.
just right into the jugular with a syringe.
Yes. After extracting whatever information you need to get out of it. But
How much coffee would kill you?
I don't know. Is it the Turkish kind or is it Folgers?
Yeah, Cuban espresso.
Yeah, but he was a medic, during the war, and he was a medic, and so he, was kind of identified as knew how to kill somebody very easily because you know what will work.
Yeah.
Because you're a medic, and so I would hear of Indian, and I'd kill some guy and some diplomat or something in the Philippines, hit him with my car, and I'd look in their rearview mirror and make a medical determination of is the guy still alive or. Put him in reverse and drive him over again a couple of times. And take off. He's doing that all the time.
Well, Jamie and I was talking. They think they have a photo of the guy who rocked that insurance CEO.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have a photo of his face.
Oh, they do.
Well, I was thinking with the amount of cameras,
they picked it up later.
I think there's cameras everywhere. That's part of the problem. I don't think this guy was a professional. I think this guy, if I had to guess, some guy got fucked over. Apparently, that company is really bad. Denying claims.
The 34% denial rate.
So normal's like 16. Yeah. So
I don't think anybody's gonna crying too hard over
his family, but that's about it.
Yeah.
It's a dirty business. Business is insurance. Fucking gross. It's gross. And especially healthcare insurance. It's fucking gross.
Well, actually, all insurance. I live in California, and all of a sudden, because I live adjacent to any kind of open space, nobody will insure my house because of fire.
Right.
And so suddenly it's like I have a house that's uninsurable, and it's not just me; it's everyone. So it's chaos.
Yeah, I have a friend who's trying to sell a house in California, and it turned out it was $125,000 a year just to get fire insurance. Like, what?
Yeah, it's insane.
Fucking nuts.
It's insane.
Yeah, but, I was evacuated 3 times when I lived there. I used to live in Bell Canyon, and, it was it was rough.
I've been really lucky. I'm almost afraid to say it, all right? Because I've been living in the Hollywood Hills, and I've never, any of the fire stuff never happened around.
Yeah, it is just luck. Yeah.
I mean, the benefit of your place is you're at least in a helicopter accessible. They're just going to dump all that fire retardant right on top of you.
I literally am kind of at the top of the hill on a bunch of rock.
Yeah.
All right, so if the whole fucking place turns into an inferno, I'm still fucked.
And I think that place has probably been there a while. It's probably withstood all sorts of calamity.
Yeah, when I was filming Fear Factor, I talked to this guy who was a fire guy for the fire department. He said, it's just going to be a matter of time. There's going to be one day where a fire hits LA and the wind is the right way and we're not going to be able to stop it. It's just going to burn right through to the ocean. He goes, it's just a matter of time. We all know it. I was like, what the fuck, dude? I go, the whole city? He goes, the whole city. He goes, when those big fires get going, there's not a damn thing. Like what happened in Malibu a few years back? Like those are, I always thought Malibu, those rich people.
Well, that was the closest. Yeah, that was like around 93. That actually happened while we were shooting Pulp Fiction.
Really?
Yeah, well, there was a big Malibu fire. The big Malibu fire happened while we were shooting Pulp Fiction. So we actually set up a TV on the set because Bruce Willis was going to maybe lose his house. And so he was like, actually, so we have the little TV area so we could, like, in between takes, we could watch what's going on with the fire. And they're like, and there was all these reports that, no, Bruce Willis and his family are on top of the house with their water hose. And I go, no, he's not. He's right here.
Well, the thing is, fires were normal. Like, it used to be when I was young. I grew up in California, and so when I was young, fires would burn through Malibu constantly. But now they put all those houses in there where there never were houses, because the fire is a natural process. It kind of clears land, cleans the land, and it's normal, actually. But when you put all that kindling in there, suddenly you end up with these like superstorms of fire.
Yeah.
I think it's overdevelopment, which is the cause of these insane kind of fires that we're getting.
This episode is brought to you by the Farmer's Dog. Dogs are amazing. They're loyal. They're lovable. Like, just having Marshall around can make my day 10 times better. I'm sure you love your dog just as much, and you want to do your best to help them live longer, healthier, happier lives. And a healthy life for your dog starts with healthy food, just like it does for us. There's a reason having a balanced diet is so important. So how do you know if your dog's food is as healthy and as safe as it can be? Well, Farmer's Dog gives you that peace of mind by making fresh, real food developed by board-certified nutritionists to provide all the nutrients your dog needs. And their food is human grade, which means it's made to the same quality and safety standards as human food. Very few pet foods are made to this strict standard. And let's be clear, human grade food doesn't mean the food is fancy. It just means it's safe and healthy. It's simple, real food from people who care about what goes into your dog's body. The Farmer's Dog makes it easy to help your dog live a long, healthy life by sending you fresh food that's pre-portioned just for your dog's needs. Because every dog is different. And I'm not just talking about breeds. From their size to their personality to their health, every dog is unique. Plus, precise portions can help keep your dog at an ideal weight, which is one of the proven predictors of a long life. Look, no one, dog or human, should be eating highly processed foods for every meal. It doesn't matter how old your dog is. It's always a great time to start investing in their health and happiness. So, try the Farmer's Dog today. You can get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Tap the banner or visit this episode's page to learn more. Offer applicable for new customers only. Yeah, but it's a cool place to live. I'm not going to stop people from developing in Malibu. You know, it's just too nice. Just take your chances, roll your dice.
Yeah. Well, but you roll your dice. You take your chances and you roll your dice no matter where you live.
Yeah, it's just fucked up when it happens. Like,
Oh my God, yes.
I drove home once. We were filming Fear Factory. We had to stop the set early because the fire was so bad. This was like 2003 or something like that, 4. And driving home took me 55 minutes on the 5 to get home. And the entire time, the right side of the highway was on fire for 55 minutes. Everything, like Lord of the Rings style.
So 3 different times you got evacuated from your house?
Yeah,
So,
3 different times.
And so what is, like, okay, so you decide what you're going to take with you kind of thing?
Yeah, the last time was the last time. It was like, the last big fire in LA. And I came home from the comedy store at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and my wife and I are looking out the window, and the fire's like maybe 500 or 600 yards away, and it's coming over the hill. And we were looking at each other and it's like, let's just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, right on.
Let's just get out of here now. So we grabbed the kids, got a laptop, took some clothes. I didn't even have underwear. I said, we just buy stuff. Who cares? Who cares? If you have your life. Yeah. I'm always I don't want to say the stupid guy, but I'm the guy who, for some reason, always decides I'm going to stay. And like I'm gonna
you're that old guy.
I live near a fire department. There's a fire hydrant across from my driveway.
You're the guy in the roof when the flood is happening.
Yeah, that's me. Like my family went away, and I was like, well, they're gonna close it up so we can't get back in. I'm just gonna hang out here until I know that it's. And at a certain point, there was fire, like cresting the ridge and kind of watching it. I ran down to the fire department to see. Hey guys, it's coming! I can see it from my house. And they're all there, like, hanging out, eating sandwiches, and, like, not even worried about it. They kind of looked over at it. You're a little too blase about fire. By the way, my Spec Ops friend, he's like, fuck those firemen, man. Fuck them. They get so much, like, credit for, like, nothing. They barely do anything. They're on these incredible pension plans. Like, he, like, hates firemen.
That's ridiculous. Well, it is a great job, but you can't get mad at someone for having a great job. There's a buddy of mine that I used to work pretty cool with.
Pump it into another country and kill somebody.
He's not getting enough credit. That's what it is. That's really what it comes from. That's the reality of our world today. Those people don't get enough credit. But firemen, it is a great fucking job.
There's like all these huge pensions, and everybody thinks they're heroes. They're not heroes.
So it's funny because
They're just doing their job.
the firemen are very comfortable with fire. These people are very comfortable with people dying, dying because of them.
Exactly.
They just get real
They get blase about murder. Yeah, it's not murder if it's sanctioned by your own country.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, what a cool loophole. Yeah, isn't it?
I had an interesting thing. It's like when you live in the Hollywood, you're paying actually, pretty decent property taxes. You get there's a little bit that comes with it. You get there's a reason why you don't have to wait 2 hours during when you're during election. You just go to the local elementary school. You're in and out in 5 minutes. All right, when it comes to the election day. But also,
I believe the government should be
it's
able
one of
to
those stupid
dictate
things
whether
that you
or
do
not
that,
the
like,
receipt if I don't, they
what's
reprimand.
an idiot where you turn on the burner and you like leave the room for a while. All right, and then you come back and all of a sudden your kitchen is flaming. And so,
Does that happen?
that happened to me once. And so
Working
the
in the comedy
alarm
industry,
goes off and I
for a TV
hit the
show or a
button.
movie, it could be grueling
Fire
work. It's very hard for
and then
comedians to work more than
I put it
once
out.
a year.
I put it out
And
like pretty much.
they would often get very, very tired. But
And
now,
then-
with apps and technology and social media,
Maybe 5 minutes
comedians
later,
can work
it could have been
whenever they want to.
5
It's so
minutes
much
later.
more accessible.
The fire truck is at my door. So I didn't even have time to say, hey, it's okay now. It's okay. And so there's an entire fire truck at my door, and I left him and he goes, guys, I'm really sorry. I was really stupid. I left the room and there was a pot on the stove and whatever. And anyway, and so I'm really sorry I wasted your time. I'm really, really sorry I wasted your time. Having said that, it's nice to see that you guys are here this quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they were like, oh,
And they were like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. Your private taxes pay for something. Are you sure you don't want us to come in and just make sure? Yeah, go ahead.
It was that
I think
kind of
Robinson comes in and chops the walls to make sure that
Yeah.
fire members inside.
We got this guy. He looks suspicious.
It's a hard fucking job. It's a hard job, though. The thing is, most of the time they're just chilling. They get to cook, they work out. I take ice cream down to our guys. I'll go out and buy a bunch of ice cream, some pizzas, and take it down just on a random day.
Because he knows why. Because he knows Google can't come out.
Well, it was actually funny because it was like one of the things that was attractive was like the local fire department was the video archives, the local fire department was a company.
If you didn't laugh about it, you'd get visibly upset about it.
It was almost out of 5 movies that they would rent for.
Hotel rates were insane.
But they lived up to their careers. Did you guys work together?
Yeah.
No shit. That's how you guys met? That's how we met.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. I'm with you on that.
How fucking
Yeah,
Oh,
that's like 84. Yeah.
Yeah. We did a little bit before they retired.
Well, I started officially in 84.
But you were a customer before.
I was a customer.
Yeah.
So you like Jack Lee's with Orphan?
I appreciate it.
You guys.
That's great.
Very unfortunate shirt on my part.
There was a lot of unfortunate shirts in the 80s. Everybody was confused. They cut the drugs off in the 70s. No one knew what to do for 10 years. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you would never thought back then that industry would completely vanish. You thought Blockbuster Video was going to be around forever.
Well, one of the things that
Like, I didn't think film was going to vanish either.
yeah, exactly.
I didn't think the theater experience was going to go away either.
One of the things that was the appeal to video stores that no one ever like when they were talking mom and pop, when they're talking old people, they're like, hey, you retire from your business, you got a nice little nest egg. If you want to invest in a nice little business, you can get to work with your neighborhood and be in a nice little store with your family. In video stores, that's a good business. Well, I don't know anything about you. People will help you. Help you choose the title. So there's a lot of people that like invested in this stuff, and it seemed like a good idea. The reason that it seemed like a profitable idea was the idea of like, well, I send you this video cassette, and you pay for the video cassette, but the minute you rent it past the point that where you pay for the video cassette yourself, then everything else is you. All that other money that you make from here on in is just all profit. Once you pay for the actual cassettes. Now, of course, they'll have some sets that don't rent as well, but that's the way it works out. But it should work out great. Well, again, that sounds like a pretty good business model. If I spend this money, and then 5 years from now, everything is profit. Where it all fell apart is the idea that you always have to get new shit. Because life, it's not a bookstore. Well, bookstores need to get new stuff too, but it's not a library. Life doesn't stand still. Every month, there's new titles coming out, and you have to be competitive, and you have to get the new titles. And so, even if that were the issue, that wouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you're a mom and pop store, you only have so much room.
Yeah.
So
it's a space. It's literally a space, shelf space.
Within 3 to 4 years, you're bursting out of the seams of videos. You're just bursting out. You've got no more room. You've got no more room. And so now all of a sudden, rather than having your tapes facing out, now everything is, sideways.
Yeah, spine facing.
And you've got to really, and it just never stops. It never stops. Next month you got to get this. And next month you got to get that. And next month you got to get that.
You need a Costco size building.
Yeah. Well, again, if you have 4 different video stores, or if you have a chain, you can move things around and it's easier. But when you're a mom and pop, that's just it. Mom and pop store, and you have a bike store. You don't have to keep getting new bikes every month. If you have a pottery store, you don't have to keep getting new
regardless of your inventory.
Every single month, yeah.
Constantly have to grow your inventory.
Every 6 months you get something cool. You don't need to get it every month. And you're defined by you having the new shit.
And then there was another problem when companies that were massively funded, like Blockbuster, came onto the scene. They would go in and they would kind of do this sort of gray market purchasing where they would buy 50 diehards. And a mom and pop store can't afford to buy more than 1 or 2 diehards, or 3 maybe, to satisfy your clientele.
Yeah, the thing is, you spend the money. One of our big titles in the early days of video was Top Gun.
Yeah, Top Gun. Perfect.
So you get you'll get even the mom and pop stores. You'll get 12 or 15.
Because everyone wants to see it, and at some point it's going to be out. It's going to be checked out. So you've got to satisfy your.
You'll rent all 15 of those for the next 2 weeks. It's going to be, it's going to be good. But then now you have to sell them off. For $10 a piece. Once the desire has died down.
It largely fell on us because we were a smaller store, and we had a Blockbuster just a block away, basically.
Not even a block. We're talking about the same fucking.
Yeah, basically,
not a block away. It was
on the block.
Yeah, in the shopping center that we were in. And you're missing the most interesting thing. It's not about the bulk buy. That's what it is. But that's every mom and pop store has to deal with that. Dealing with a franchise.
Well, it changes your strategy.
Yeah. But what Blockbuster did, and they were famous for doing this. And but particularly they were strategic. Is like, okay, we're going to go into this town. Okay, we're going into Manhattan Beach. What's the biggest video store? What's the most popular local video store in Manhattan Beach? Well, that would be Video Archives. They're right right across the street from the warehouse. All right, which is one of the big. Before Blockbuster, it was warehouse. Warehouse right. And they still.
What up, Pimp? How are you?
Across the street from warehouse.
Kicking ass, taking names. What's good in your neck of the woods, son? Excellent. We're just chilling. Dude, stay in the... We're listening to the Joe Rogan Experience. Stay in the Discord as long as you can and fall asleep in here. I figured that. I might have to restart I understand that. I may have to restart my device. Let me see what's going on. Just one moment.